just flew here from Philadelphia yesterday, and I was in the airport in Philadelphia at 12 noon. I didn't get into my hotel until 2 a.m. Eastern time this morning, and I was up at 6 a.m. dealing with Joe and the rest of these jokers here, right? Yeah, he will give an aspirin a headache, so you know, that's your neighbor, not mine. So you cannot treat me the way my kids greet me the way my kids greet me every morning when they get off the school bus, right? So good morning. Good morning. There we go. It is an honor and a pleasure. It's always an awesome experience to come to Minnesota in the summer. I was in Duluth and had a great time. So this is a great experience for us because it's a little different. That we're going out of our comfort zone a little and into our learning zone. And we avoid the learning zone often as administrators and educators because it's very close to the frustration zone. But I think that if we model for you being different and being innovative, it'll be an example for you. So we were given these slides, and I intentionally didn't spend too much time thinking about these slides because not only am I a principal, but I'm also a father. I got 2 girls, and you ladies are high maintenance at any age. So we have to study for you. So when I see this slide and you see the chess pieces, that if you know my story, I teach all of my students to play chess. It's mandatory. And my students are inner city kids, and they've gone on to become, national chess champions. But chess also teaches students to critically think and to problem solve. And when I see this slide, I see a larger piece and a smaller piece. And your chess player, it's a pawn, and could be a queen, could be a king, could be a bishop, any piece larger than the pawn. But I think the symbolism here is that we have an opportunity to influence those little people. Before long, that pawn is the only piece in the game that can become another piece. Not the queen, not the king, nor the piece on the board can become another piece except for the smallest piece, the pawn. And I think the message there is for us to say to young people, each and every one, that you can be me because I was once you. And we love these children before we ever meet them. And I think it's a powerful message for them to understand that we come here every day, especially you men, for them to know that we do not live in a fatherless society. There are men, who care. These women have supported us for hundreds of years, but we can look at those young people and tell them that we will be here tomorrow. So this slide here looks like a concert, but to me it reminds me of the way you greeted me this morning, because we can no longer afford to be a tiny spark for our kids. That we have to be kind of people who are willing to get out and entertain and perform for these young folks to get them involved in understanding what we want to do for them. And that's the understanding that education for some can be their only salvation. So if we've got to play an instrument, we've got to sing a song. Some of you have done some crazy things for your young people, but it's simply because we want them to know that we love them and we care about them. This picture here, this looks like a tree. But if you really deeply understand it, you'll understand that there are hundreds of years of growth. And that tree, whoever watered that tree when it was young, may have never seen that tree grow. And they're young people that we'll influence and that we'll work with for years. And we'll see very little growth, but there'll be people who will come after us and who will work with those young people, and they will grow beyond our imagination. But it's just that there have to be adults in their lives who care enough not to give up on them. And I think the influence that we have on our young people, that when they grow older, they'll mention you. They may not ever tell you. They love you. Some of them will even slip up and call you mom or dad. One called me Pop-Pop, and I said, don't you ever call me Pop-Pop. But it's because they see us as people, who truly care about them. In this slide, I saw an adult reading, and we see young people reading. And often what I say to my teachers is that, we have to be willing to sort of let our children own what they're doing in the classroom. And we have to develop a learning culture and not a teaching culture. That whenever I come to your classroom, I don't need to see that every student knows the answer to every question. That I'm impressed when students are struggling and when students have to seek help, maybe from other colleagues or maybe even some research to be able to answer your question, but that does not happen without them reading. And so this picture speaks volumes because it shows us that with no words, that you see learning taking place. So that's a learning culture and not a teaching culture. And this is my surprise slide. And I'm a Apple iPhone person, so I could be offended by this photograph here, right? But I see someone walking on some tracks. And I think that as a principal, and I've been a principal since 1999. I've been a teacher since 1987. And this job is tough, but it's a calling. And God doesn't call to equip, he equips to call. And when I see that, I often see myself on those tracks. And oftentimes I see a light, and I just hope that it's not a train. But then some kid walks up to you and just lets you know that, hey, I come to school every day because you're here. Or some adult comes and says, listen, I just enjoy working with you and appreciate it. I know I'm not always the person I need to be, but I know I'm a better person because you have breathed some air into the culture in our school. So thank you very much, folks. But seriously, this work is so important, and you know it. And we know we're preaching to the choir, but the choir needs to be inspired too. And so this work is so important, and leadership is about service, and if you don't serve, you don't lead. And I told Jess when she came back over, I said, my takeaway today is you said self-care is not selfish. And I think that oftentimes that we confuse those. But today, I'm here to talk to you about being crazy about our kids, about our children. My mantra is that every child deserves to have at least one person be crazy about them. Now, my 4 C's of school success are there, but I don't have time to talk to you about all 4. Curious about the lives of our children outside of school. That C used to be care, but then I met a wonderful principal in Texas, Amber Tiemann, who's also a big fan of Joe's, and a few other teachers, and they said, Principal, people can fake caring. You need something more powerful. And so I came up with really being curious about the lives of our kids. And then our children needing consistent adults in their lives. Consistency, very important. And then finally, developing a culture of love and support for our children, and also high expectations. I've worked in enough toxic cultures, and Jimmy is the expert on culture and making up words. So we really appreciate what he gives to us about culture. But I'm going to talk to you about being crazy about our kids, because I have a few takeaways just from what I've heard today. And I heard the word impact. I heard the word elevate. And I think truly if we're going to elevate our students and really impact, choosing impact over compliance, that we have to really believe that we'll do anything for those young people. We deal with, in my school community, we dealt a year ago with losing a young person. Well, he was shot in the wheelchair, paraplegic. We've had several students who've witnessed parents being murdered. Often our children are struggling and suffering through loss and suffering through grief, but they find a way to make it to us. Every day they find a way to be in our presence because they truly care about us. So I asked my staff last year in a staff meeting, let's stop focusing on the minor things. Let's stop majoring in the minor. Let's really focus on giving our students what they need. If the students need a pencil, let's stop fussing over pencils. If they need a pencil, give them a damn pencil, right? That's bottom line. And as principals, we're not saying buy pencils because they spend enough of their own money. We'll buy the pencils. But let's really get to the heart of what matters for these young people. There's a young man, Joshua Dickinson, who's a teacher in Atlanta. He wrote a quick poem about this experience of young people. And the story goes like this. It says, I woke myself up early this morning because we don't have an alarm clock. Dug in a dirty clothes basket for something to wear to school because no one washed my uniform. Brushed my teeth and hair in the dark because our lights aren't on. Woke my baby sister up for school because our mother isn't home. Got us both to school so we can get us a good what? Right. Got us both to school early so we can get us a good breakfast. Got a good breakfast. Made it to class. And my teacher fussed because I ain't got a pencil. And I think about these young people who go through so much just to be in our presence, for our impact, for us to be able to elevate them. And for me, because I was one of those teachers, if you didn't have your supplies, you weren't ready for success. You weren't ready for the world. But understanding that child may have been up at midnight giving insulin to an adult, or up at 2 a.m. cleaning up after the car party. That these children come to us because they want us to inspire. They also want us to be there for them. So I come to you today and ask each and every one of you to be crazy about our kids. Let's stop praying for a lighter load and start praying for a stronger back. because we know this work is important. And we know that without you, many of these young people will not be able to make it. Many of these teachers will not be able to make it without leaders like you who understand that if service is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.